Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Vladis here. Oh my god, I feel like I haven't done a Friday stream in some time. Jesus. It's been a bit, huh, guys? Let's lower this music down. Hello. Hi. What? Atticus? Bro. I'm so sorry. It's been 84 years. Yeah, for sure, dude. Nemesis, good to see you, buddy. Vale, thank you so much for the Prime, dude. I really appreciate it. Man, today was a live stream, wasn't it, man? Malavar, dude, what's going on, brother? Well, thank you for joining the stream, man. So today we had the, May live stream. And I just want to say right off the bat, I really dig this format. Again, I guess because we're actually in the Alpha 2 now, having you guys play the game and show us pocket dungeons of stuff, it just doesn't have the same mysticism as it once held. And I think what people,
I know 12 inches pretty well. Let me see that.
Damn right, Basin. What up, brother? I think ultimately people just want to know information, and I think especially hearing the developers, having my boy Corey on, I don't know where planning was, probably just slacking usually, but where have you been, dude? I have been daddying it up. I've been, my wife is yay big now, and I've just been, present with her and present with my kid and really doing that. I already have a whole plan for my YouTube content, and I've been talking to her about it, and I've been kind of really getting into my new format that I'm going to have with my videos, and I'm going to probably release the first video probably in August, potentially. I'm going to take my break, of course, probably in June, sometime in June. It really just depends when my wife really can't do anything anymore. So whenever that starts to happen, I'm just going to take a break. And then I'm just going to focus on any kind of free time that I have into my first video under this new format that I'm creating for Ashes. So yeah, I'm still here. I'm playing when I can. I think right now, because I was so gathering and artisan driven, we all know that 2.5 is just, the economy's fucked. Let's just be real, right? The economy's fucked. My boy Corey just said he would want it wiped right now. I actually want to go and watch this because I was literally taking care of my kid as I was trying to watch this, and this stream was 2.5 hours. So there was plenty of times where I had to just stop watching and go. And sadly enough, this was during the econ stream, and I got bits and pieces. I heard Corey say some things, I heard Steven say some things, but I wasn't totally in it. You know what I mean? I wasn't totally listening and really paying attention the whole time because I was taking care of my daughter. So I want to go and do that. And I don't know if many of you guys know, but I'm no longer in the guild that I once was for many years, because I was an Axiom. I'm actually in a new guild called Suspect, and my GM, Psychophobic, who I've had before on the 1v1 podcast, I'm actually going to give him a call right now, because I really want to just chat with someone who, is playing, Ashes, and I know he's been playing off and on, probably just as much as I have, and just to get his take on how the game's evolving, what he's expecting or wanting from Ashes, and I think yeah, holy crap, I'm part of Suspect now. I am officially in the Suspect guild. Yes, so I'm officially sus, as someone might say. But yeah, I think ultimately I feel with this phase, and this goes to show, right? Many of us aren't built to be testers. The complaints and the people that are, going off on Discord or in Reddit or the forums I'm not trying to say they're invalid, right? Of course, those people's emotions and how they feel about the current state is very valid. But I guess many people that I've seen are pretty much demanding perfection from Intrepid. Like, they want Intrepid to be infallible, and they want Intrepid because of them being in production for 8 years, that they have this like foolproof on paper plan of how everything, down to the meticulous detail, how everything's supposed to be. And I just, you know, like, I've never been a part of, you know, a gaming company before, right? I'm not a game developer by any means, but I've been a part of companies that, you know, we had a plan, we tried to execute said plan, and shit had to change. You know what I'm saying? And I think the thing with this is that this is what I've always said about the paper design of Ashes of Creation. Now that we're actually in it, now is the time to raise those concerns. Now is the time to basically say the things that are on our mind, and maybe, you know, call into question, is the design flawed, right? And it's kind of hard to do that because it's not like everything is present currently, right? It's not like the node system, as an example. Every system that's a part of the node system, every system is online. That's just a lie. And currently with the economy, there's so many other systems and so many things that aren't present currently that influence and take part in the professional artisan system as well as the overall economy. So yes, we can say like, it sucks that this thing, you know, processing sucks, or gathering sucks. We can't find copper, we can't find this, but there's also other systems that just weren't present, right? Like, imagine if deconstruction kits weren't in. People would really be pissed. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and that's just like an example of adding a system that alleviates player concern, right? And it's not saying they're going to get every, like, once all the systems are out, it's not saying they're going to be perfect the first time either, you know? So I think, again, people just have this like bar, this like the invisible bar that they had it benched for Intrepid, and in their minds, in the tester's mind, they're not hitting that bar. So you're failing Intrepid. And I can guarantee you the one person or the group of people that ultimately know that is Intrepid. You know, like, hindsight's 2020, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, you know, they saw the stuff they did and realized, fuck, okay, that didn't work. Or, you know, this wasn't planned, or, you know, whatever the case was, right? And so, like, to me, getting upset about it and getting all like bent out of shape isn't going to do me any favors, and it isn't really going to do Intrepid any favors. Now, the thing that people are doing is bringing to light the actual valid concerns that phase 2.5 is, you know, irking players. And that's totally fine. I mean, we should be doing that, right? We should be addressing those concerns, but to get so vitriolic and to get so, I don't know what the word is, like needy, or, you know, like, it kind of just reminds me of like needy ex-girlfriend energy. Like, I don't know how to really to call it. It's just like, even for myself, like, I catch myself because it's like, I've been waiting for this this big econ patch for weeks. And I even messaged Steven about it yesterday. And the whole embrace the suck meme, that was from the conversation I had with Steven. And I want to give credit because I believe it was Plastic Lemons or Nice that made that into like the sticker, or made that into the thing. So they technically invented the meme. But, you know, it was due to the conversation I had with Steven. I messaged him on Discord, you know, publicly, and he responded because I just wanted insight as to like, why is this big econ patch like still not out yet? And I think that's also another thing that they need to learn too, is that as much as I've hyped and as much as I've given credit for the static node rarity post that they did, right? The whole blog post they put out for like what upcoming changes they want for the economy, like, you know, BOE tools, they got getting rid of the static node rarity, clusters, what was the other thing? The pylons, like all that stuff. It was great. But the flaw in that was dates. Because there were dates, people had set expectations. And I understand like dates usually aren't met. But truly the only thing we've really gotten from that article was fixing the static node rarity, which I believe was the top of the list. Like, that should have been the first thing fixed. But we literally still have nothing since. but we don't have like the profession talent trees. We don't have BOE tradable tools. We don't have the node pylons. We don't have like artisan gear changes. We don't have like, there's still a lot of the stuff that's really missing. And you know, there's also like the tuning, because I feel like when he said hundreds of recipes, like I was thinking, we're always trying to create the copper greatsword, right? Like if you're a two-handed sword user from the Riverlands, but like where's the equivalent of the desert two-handed copper sword or the tropics two-handed copper sword? Like where's that equivalent? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, I hope, and what would truly alleviate all these changes, right, is for us to stop feeling like the Riverlands is the end-all be-all of Artisan. If every biome can literally be self-efficient into every recipe or into gear, basically, then you would have almost 4 zones at this point: the Riverlands, Tropics, Desert, and the Jundark. If you would basically get all of the recipes that are currently in the Riverlands and just extrapolate that 3 more times, then you would have all of those zone materials, all of the T1, T2, T3 materials of all of those biomes as well. Like, so you don't technically need copper. You can go find the T1 equivalent of copper in the desert and make the, you know, let's say it's slate, right? I don't know if it is, but let's just say for an example, you can make the, you know, two-handed slate greatsword. You know what I mean? So, hell, I know that maybe testing wasn't for me in the long term, but I don't regret my choice in spending it, since I hope it goes to make Ashes improve now. No, for sure. I mean, I think we're all trying to make Ashes improve. I just think that there's people that are taking it to the extreme, right? And, you know, I think the other concern that a lot of people are also stating is PvP. And, you know, the lawless areas, I think, provided a lot of content. It provided the content for PvP players, right? You take that away, and now they have the broken systems of PvP, right? Which is like, you know, guild wars, you know, not being as efficient, or node wars, or, you know, whatever the case is, right? Like, and I think Zyback actually did a really good video explaining like how he would fix the whole PvP side of things. But me personally, like, I wasn't against lawless zones, but lawless zones were never a part of the design. And the other problem that I think occurs is the corruption system, which is currently overtuned because we're in testing, is not going to be nerfed until probably the betas. So there needs to be people, the PvPers need to be appeased just as much as I believe the PvEers with phase 3 happening also need to be appeased. And Psycho, dude, thank you so much for the Prime, bro. Here, let me go ahead and give you a call, Psycho. Give me 1 second, brother. Let's go ahead and do this. Why is it not in streamer mode? There we go. Sorry about that, guys. I was like, why is my Discord not in streamer mode? Make sure my volumes and all that are good. All right, my volumes are good. Oh my God, who's doing what? Someone did something. Esteban, dude, thank you so much for the sub, bro. Really appreciate it. Is it phase 3 yet? God, I wish. After seeing them talk about the summoner, I gotta watch Nice's video. He put out a video going over the summoner abilities, so I really need to watch that to see like how the summoner is going to shape up, because honestly I played a warlock and a hunter in WoW for a long time, so pet classes is something that I'm totally fine with, so I really want to see like how they do in general. All right, well, Psycho, if you're listening to me, just join in whenever you can. Let me see. In world on node should see copper, but in the processing / crafting UI see tier 1 mat no matter what type / zone it came from. Yeah, I believe you are going to be able to see like in the benches like all the different tier 1 materials that you could potentially use. I know there's people that are asking for like mixing, you know, like as an example, like if I'm in the Riverlands and I don't have copper, but I have the equivalent of copper from like the desert. Like, let's just say as an example, again, that slate is the equivalent of copper, that I can use slate to make the two-handed slate weapon, but Riverlands, like and that's the thing, I don't know how they would be able to swing that, to be honest, because I feel like the developers want you to craft, like the benches I think are going to be biome specific. So if that's truly the case, like if they are going to be biome specific, then like how, like I don't know if mixing is going to be a thing. However, I think if most people are asking for it, like I really don't see the harm. I just don't know how they would be able to do it on their end, and I don't know what product would come out, right? Because if you're technically using the recipe of the two-handed copper greatsword, but you have slate, is it still a copper greatsword? Is it now a slate greatsword? Or like, you know, is it still Riverlands based? Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Did you already talk about econ? I'm basically talking about econ because I do want to watch this part of the live stream from the beginning, because I really didn't get to I didn't get to hear it as well as I wanted to. So I do want to kind of talk about it more in depth. I also do want to talk about 5.6 because I feel like that is a way bigger deal than people are leading on. Like I actually messaged Planin because I was watching a video on 5.6 and there are some really good upgrades from the client side that I believe are going to really help improve the processing. I really don't know if it's going to improve the leak, right? The memory leak, but I believe it's going to definitely improve performance. Like, because there is they're adding multi-threading in 5.6 client side, not full multi-threading, because technically they don't, I'm not saying they use single threaded now. There are portions of things that are multi-threaded, but not to the degree of like what 5.6 is going to be. And of course they're going to do, I believe, full multi-threading in Unreal Engine 6 from what the main CEO talked about. So we're never going to go to 6, right? So that's off the table. But if 5.6 is going to expand multi-threading across CPU and GPU, that is huge. Like that is unbelievably huge. Like just that alone is insane. And Fupo, you're on to the next thing. Nanite and Lumen upgrades. Foliage is going to look better with no performance increase. Like it's like, I'm telling you guys, it's insane. Now, the other good thing is that because they're going to 5.6, this is also something that they're going to also be able to take part in. And I can show you 5.5 has real sky. So right now in Ashes, you know how like you're looking up at the sky and it looks like almost like a dream because the clouds really don't move naturally at all, and it just like you're watching stuff and it's like slowly moving and then it shifts really fast and then it like slowly starts moving again. So, and the clouds really don't, they look very gamey, right? They don't actually look like it doesn't look like a real sky. In Unreal Engine 5.5, they literally have I think it's called real sky. And it's like realistic clouds, movement, sun patterns. Like it's crazy. Like the improvement of going from like 5.4, which technically we're on 5.3, going to 5.5, like skywise is insane. Like it's literally insane. DLSS 4 with the construction model is rather big as well. Yeah, I mean it's thing after thing after thing. Like that's why I literally messaged Planin, and this was before the live stream. I said, guys, like I told him, like, I know you guys are considering 5.5, but 5.6, like there's so many reasons why 5.6 is like the thing you need to jump to next. Because I was telling him, like, once y'all are done with 5.5, y'all need to jump to 5.6. And it just so happened that when they were actually doing the evaluation, because I heard that on the Unreal Engine sides, that 5.5 wasn't actually an increase. It actually hurt performance. And I'm just so glad, because again, with 5.6, there's just so many performance increases. It's really, really insane. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Psycho just messaged me. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah, Psycho had some real life stuff, so we're not gonna be able to chat, but it's okay. All right, let me go here real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and then let's just watch this real quick. Let me shut that off. Let's go here, make it wide, and then I gotta fit my face. Probably go here in the corner. All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are here with our economy revamp segment. This has been like a little PAX panel. It feels great. Post PAX. There we go.
I like this because I don't have to talk as much. Other developers talk. I'm cool with that. Let's do this.
Instead of bombarding Steven, yes. I'm letting he gets a little freedom.
I'm like a viewer. I love it.
We have a new face and a face that you've seen before, of course. So we'll let them introduce themselves. Corey, we'll start with you, and then Rhett, if you want to introduce yourself. You've seen Corey a few times.
Yeah, how's it going? Corey, I'm a technical designer on the econ team. Excited to be here, talk about some of the big upcoming econ changes, and yeah, let's get into it.
Hold on, they said they could add intrinsic values to mats. So let's say that each copper adds like 5 or 10 strength and 10 adds 10 dexterity. Could be a fix for mixing and adding player agency. So I'm all about that, dude. I've been saying, and this is the other thing too. If you go back and look at the live stream where they actually made the blood sword, this is when they actually introduced, it was like the live stream where they showed off like the second pass of the night sky, which was like, remember, because we were talking about lighting in the dark and people were like, oh, this is so good, this is so good. Well, during that same live stream where they did stuff in the dark, they did stuff in the corrupted area, but at the very end they basically did the whole process of gathering, processing, and crafting, and they crafted a blood sword. And that blood sword, like, you saw like additional reagents or whatever the hell it's called, and I like the idea of being able to make a sword, a dex sword, an intel sword, like, instead of having, because that's the way I would rather have it, because I think right now materials are very specific, or I would say recipes are very specific. Like, this recipe makes an int sword, this recipe makes a strength sword, and this recipe makes like a dex sword, or whatever. Like, I think it should just be making a two-handed sword recipe, and depending on what things you add creates the actual stats on the weapon. That's what I would rather have, because I don't like having a specific recipe for a specific stat. I'd rather have it more flexible. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would actually rather have to where I can make a granite sword, but the granite sword is like a shitty version of a two-handed sword, but it's better than the crude. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I want there to be flexibility within that, so that way I'm not just reliant off of copper. I can make a zinc sword, I can make a tin sword, I can make a copper sword, I can make, but, and also depending on the rarity or depending on what ore is used, strengthens that sword in a particular way. Like, let's say if granite sword isn't really good when it comes to strength, but it's actually really good when it comes to durability, right? So it has a way higher durability than, let's say, a tin sword or a copper sword, but copper has like a way higher strength, like, exponent on it, shit like that. I can go on and on about it, but yeah, I completely agree with you.
Corey, I saw a lot of people prior to this segment saying, "Where's Corey? Where's Corey at? We want to talk to Corey."
Okay,
People do love Corey.
I'm here.
Yeah,
Corey's the GOAT, dude.
I can't see your tattoos as much though. Like, people love seeing them.
This isn't tattoo. This is just chest hair.
Yeah.
And then Rhett.
Hi, we all love Corey. I'm Rhett, the lead systems designer, mostly overseeing economy, and I have a little pinky toe dipped in the node side of things as well. I have to say I'm a little surprised that we're going to be talking economy rework, because Stephen told me this was like supposed to be a victory lap for us because we've got the economy nailed.
100% true. Let's just stop the video now. The economy's fixed. It's all done. We're good to go. No, I'm sure Rhett was memeing for sure. On the wiki, they mentioned a recipe XP system. Using that to allow modify a recipe to have done a lot would be interesting. Well, and that also goes into the fact where if you want to make 100 of an item, you're actually like, I've always believed in ranks. So like as you're making something, you get more proficient in that recipe. So like you can have rank 1 through like rank 5, and you know, by adding each additional rank, it could cost like a less reagents. It could add better stat lines or more stat lines. So compared to like, let's say a rank 1 greatsword compared to a rank 5 greatsword is, you know, a huge difference, because you put the time and effort into making that sword over and over again to get those higher ranks. You know what I'm saying? So then you'd basically be looking not just for the sword, but the rank of that sword. Like I'm looking for a weaponsmith that can make a rank 3 greatsword minimum, you know? So it incentivizes people to actually, like, it doesn't feel bad by making like 100 of a particular thing, right? Because there actually goes towards the XP. The only problem that I have with a system like this is that players get so into wanting to do this so quickly, and it kind of would make certain things as far as the economy just kind of plummet a little bit, because supply and demand would just go through the roof, right? There would be so much supply of a particular thing that it becomes almost worthless. But then I think of like deconstruction kits and like, I don't know, like I would love to see it happen, you know, and I believe it definitely will. We just need the system, you know. Again, another missing system.
No, this is a in-depth dive into what it takes to nail the economy, which is currently in progress.
He's trolling you guys. If you don't understand sarcasm.
Now, Rhett, there's a big question in the community that I think you could provide some clarity to. Is it Rhett or Arhet?
You know, I'm not sure myself at this point.
Oh, God.
One of those was my given name, and the other one just became the name people call me. So it's kind of at your option.
Given you.
Look at Corey. He's like, are we going to talk economy or what?
All right, well, let's get into it. I know this is a big topic.
He's so serious.
And we're trying to cram a lot into a short period of time. So let's kind of go over things. I'll hand it off to you, Rhett. I know that you had kind of laid out how you wanted to talk about it. And then if we have any additional things, Stephen and I can pop in and ask some additional questions as well.
Okay, but I'm also going to lean on Corey a lot here.
Yeah, go for it.
He's been doing
this is your guys' show.
Yeah, just from a high level, you know, we've been trying to do a lot of things at the same time. You know, our world has quadrupled and more in size since the last time we really tuned the economy. And I think we've got to the point now where, you know, we need to revisit it. So, you know, the goals we have for this are, there's a few of them. You know, we want to make sure that early players have an avenue through crafting to outfit themselves if that's the path they want to take. You know, and part of that means the time to acquire your resources needs to fit within a time frame that's in sync with player leveling. You know, we're not doing that right now, right? I think we pushed the gathering and crafting loops in a direction we want to lean to. We want to make crafting important. Did we over-index? Sure, but we don't want to make one of these games where a bunch of materials no longer matter, or where crafting no longer matters. And so I think we've like deliberately hedged that side of the fence.
I think you did. I mean, that's why people are upset, because they want to craft, but it's absurdly outrageous too, right? So them going too far in the pendulum swing, I think, was definitely bad. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why that can't just be alleviated for now. like make a temporary change right now to cut crafting costs, or just put them at the same cost as they used to be temporarily. If you want to increase them later because you're adding more to the systems, or you're adding like the big econ patch, right? And there's a reason why we're going to inflate these numbers to the degree we did, because you're not seeing the bigger picture. I totally get that, totally understand. But right now it sucks. And I know, embrace the suck, right? Embrace it. But you can't tell me that it wouldn't be so easy just to fix some numbers on the back end for a temporary fix. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think that's so, I don't think that's asking for much. I'm just confused how we had the that article posted in March with plans to change a bunch of things, and we're now 2+ months from that, and everything's just getting significantly worse. Makes me sad, man. No, I completely understand, Esteban. I mean, that's why I wanted clarification. I wanted just insight into like why are these econ changes taking so long? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand why it has to be a big econ patch. Because in my opinion, the economy's already fucked. Like, this particular patch isn't going to save anything. It's the economy already has irreparable damage. I saw a video today by Richie, and he says, I can fix RMT, I can fix cheating, I can fix all the botting, or, you know, all the stuff. And he says, just put the PTR vendors on Live Realms. Let people instantly go to level 25. Let people just like buy gold, like for free, basically. Because on the PTR vendor, you can just right click and just get a sack of gold, you know, for free. And because again, the economy's fucked. Like, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, I understand Alpha 2 is the live environment game, but Alpha 2 is a test. This is all, and it's going to be wiped anyway. Like, we already got confirmation from this live stream that August is going to be a wipe. So what does it matter for now? It doesn't. Like, it literally doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. Not sure if it is easy. I couldn't imagine them. I couldn't imagine it taking weeks to do, personally. Like, and that's what I'm trying to say is, like, they've already seen these things occur, and I don't know, well, we're going to find out, right? But I trying to think if Steven even mentioned when this particular big econ patch, because does he mention it in this or in this live stream of when? Is it going to be next week? Did he say definitively that next week is the big econ patch, or like when? Because right now players are hurting, and testers are getting to the point where they just don't want to test. And I don't know how long that can just keep going. You know, no, they haven't said. Which basically begs the question to me, or not begs the question, but it just tells me that even next week is not going to happen. So it's just, and especially right now, right? Like, there's already a lot of boiling points that people are facing. The PvPers are boiling because there's no more PvP anymore, because the lawless areas in the June Dark are gone. The PvEers are upset because gathering, processing, and crafting is completely fucked. So you have both sides of the PvE and PvP completely at their wits' end. What else can they do? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's, I think, the biggest issue in Intrepid Phases right now is, like, what do you do? I don't know.
And now we're going to pull back a little bit. I think the other thing that to note is that, you know, all of our systems have to work together, and we've been going really broad. Player power, the size of the world, the balance of our harvestables, copper, enemy drops. And so we're working on a model. We've been working on a model, I guess, for the last couple of weeks now, to hit all of these goals. And that's where I'd like to hand it over to Corey to talk about kind of what he's doing right now, because he's knee-deep in it.
And Corey, before you get started, I want to set the scene, right, for many of the community, the players.
Well, and I think just because I don't want to forget what I'm about to say, I think the reason why it was this big econ patch is because on their schedule, right? Like when they said it was going to be like April 22nd, and I believe it was going to be like, it was like 0.8, 0.9, and 0.10, I believe were going to be the econ changes, right? That we were going to get. And now we're on 0.11, and we still really don't have any of those things. And I think the reason why it was this big econ patch is because the stuff then got pushed, right? So the stuff that was supposed to be in 0.8 now got pushed to 0.9 when they couldn't hit that date. Now it's rolling over to 0.10. They couldn't hit that, so it had to roll over to 0.11. So it's like it kind of just rolled into this kind of snowball effect of all these econ changes. But it's like I don't understand why it couldn't be piecemealed. Like, why does it all have to drop at once? Like, if there are systems that are working and are able to be pushed out, push them out. I think they said they're another few weeks today. Like, another few weeks away? Are we literally going to get these changes at the end of June or something? Like, that's wild to me. I mean, again, embrace the suck, right? But I guess in my mind, I just don't understand why it couldn't be piecemealed. Like, why does it have to be a big patch or nothing? I don't get it.
Who, don't obviously have insight to what it takes to make an economy as intricate as the one we're trying to create.
2 weeks minimum, they said.
I'm going to use a word here that I think is on a lot of bingo cards, but the economy is very much not a bespoke system. It is actually a system that is very well integrated and interdependent across many of the other systems within the game. And when you talk about the start of a testing phase like we had back on May 1st, our 2.5 launch, which we did not intend to do. That was not in the cards. We did not have a plan to do a fresh start on May 1st. That happened as a result of a lot of community feedback wanting to see that occur. Now, we had some grand plans to deliver on revamps for the economy prior to the start of phase 3. And those plans, obviously, we did a little bit of some missteps at the start of phase 2.5 because we wanted to start that phase with some of these changes enacted, because economy is very much a continual process. Once it starts, that starting point, it's very difficult to make changes in the middle of it and not have still the effects of that start manifest itself throughout the entire process. So even if we make changes, we can't go back and change without a wipe what has happened to begin with.
100%.
So it's very interdependent. It's very interconnected. It stipulates player progression with gear, with the design of nodes and the ability to construct buildings, the acquisition of those material resources for those building construction. It is, the power curve that players have against NPCs. And there is a little bit of a confluence of issues that happened at the start of phase 2.5 with that fresh start. So we are very much in the process of kind of iterating on the economy.
Zen, dude, thank you so much for the sub, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This portion today was the most underwhelming. Wish they had shared their plan to adjust the pains they rehashed during this portion. Well, I haven't watched it yet, Zen, so I don't know like what was said. So I'm watching this particular part because I was really excited for this part, but I was taking care of my kid today. She was acting crazy because this went really, really long. And so I had to basically try to keep her entertained and watch like segments of it. There's actually other parts that I really didn't watch that well either. I watched a little bit of the summoner stuff, but I can watch that later. I'm probably more interested in Nice's video actually about the abilities, community feedback and bugs. I did watch that whole thing, but yeah, it wasn't until this part that I started to kind of be more in and out. I did watch a little bit of the Unreal Engine upgrades, but I can watch that on my own time. And the cheat stuff, I was able to hear a little bit more about that. But all right, let's keep watching.
Economy while the bus is moving, which is never a fun place to be from an econ team perspective, right? You want to have that fresh start with the economy design you want, and let's see how things play forward, especially for an open economy. So as Rhett said, right now, Corey, Mike, myself, Rhett, we are knee deep in this refactor. Corey, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about, what that entails.
Yeah, thanks for the preface that for sure needed to be said. I think another little embellishment on that is with the additional 2.5 phase, we kind of got this.
I just want to say that Corey and I have the same exact headset. That's the Corsair headset. It's freaking comfortable as shit. Great minds think alike, right, Corey?
Unique opportunity to be like, what things can we try out in a short span, knowing that phase 3 is coming, and we could make some kind of bigger changes based on the data that we collect there. There was a decent amount of changes. It's like a good example of this is like crafting recipe amounts. How many things are used in those crafting recipes? How many things are used in the processing recipes? We knew for sure that we didn't like the amounts that were too much on the low end beforehand because of the way crafting works and the averaging that happens when you're using different materials of different rarity.
Wait, I'm gonna rewind what he just said.
There was a decent amount of changes. It's like a good example of this is like crafting recipe amounts. How many things are used in those crafting recipes? How many things are used in the processing recipes? We knew for sure that we didn't like the amounts that were too much on the low end beforehand.
We knew for sure that we didn't like too little materials on the. That was the thing. Like what we initially got with like 10 copper, 1 basalt mold to make a weapon, they knew that was too little. And I think that's the other thing that I think they could have done a better job in is actually communicate their reasoning. And again, because we don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like we just think, oh, okay. And again, I'm not saying this stuff can change, right? Like everything can basically change, but I think it's really bracing testers for those changes. And because it was just so out of left field, people weren't even aware of the fact that these things were going to be inflated, because I can guarantee you, like if they were to at least tell like, hey, these numbers, like we don't like these numbers being too small, we would have been able to like work with you and say like, well, we believe these numbers could work, like instead of 10, it could be 15, right? But then when we see 32, we're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like I wish they did a better job at communicating like what changes are coming to brace the community better. That's what I feel like has such a knee-jerk reaction when the community sees it, because it deserves a knee-jerk reaction, because it feels out of nowhere, No, Burns, I did watch this, but I was taking care of my baby, so I didn't get to really watch this part specifically, and I really want to watch the economy stuff, because this is like the biggest thing for me that I want to do. But it's great to see you, brother. I did see that Steven mentioned you. He was watching your video about the whole RMT thing with the cheating. Oh, it's so good.
And because of the way crafting works and the averaging that happens when you're using different materials of different rarity. And we weren't quite getting the gameplay that we're looking for there. When a recipe only has, 3 things in it.
Right.
And every time you're gathering a thing, you're getting 5. The amount of effort, time, money that it was taking to collect those things didn't result in the power that you're getting, right? We saw kind of a lot of that with like our previous stats and in previous phases, where like the amount of power you were able to get and the rate at which you were able to get it kind of turned into like a power creep and a one-shot fest. And that was a multiple compounding issues, but that was one of the factors. So for this phase, we wanted to try to swing the pendulum a little bit and see where the boundaries are. And it sounds like we for sure found some of them. And so that's one of the things that we're working on now is taking in feedback on, what players feel like with the higher values, both on the processing level. We kind of started out with
you see RMT gold sellers are being banned daily. The ones buying the gold, they are looking into that and how to address that. That was a wrap on RMT. Well, good. I mean, they should. 100%. I've always said, and I've said this in my interview with Steven, you need to scare the shit out of buyers. if you scare the shit out of buyers and people aren't buying, you're going to starve the sellers. Like, because honestly, like in my opinion, I really wouldn't ban the sellers, because all they're going to do is just going to pop like weeds. They're just going to create another account, and you know, it's still a problem. But if they're playing your game and they're doing stuff to earn gold, and they're just sitting on this bunch of gold because they can't sell it because no one wants to buy it because they're afraid to get permanently banned, then you can flag that account. But anytime that account trades gold, you just ban the buyer. You know what I'm saying? And then when the sellers get sick and tired of not being able to sell their gold, because these people are so fucking time efficient that if they realize this game, they aren't going to be making the kind of money they could be if they were investing it into like Lost Ark or World of Warcraft or whatever other MMO, they're just going to stop. Like, that's literally it. Like, that's why they're so prevalent in these other games, because those other games companies don't do shit. So it's super profitable. They can make over $1 million a day doing RMT. So you have to scare the shit out of buyers. You have to make it to where every potential person that goes to g2d.com, they just like, fuck that. I spent way too much time in Ashes on my account to even consider a permanent ban. And especially, I believe that I heard him say that they're going to try to do hardware bans. Good. Do that shit.
The big change, and it kind of compounded the higher the processing level, the crafting level got, and that definitely felt, you know, too heavy-handed. And we kind of loosened that up on the lower end to make novice crafting feel more approachable. But even then, you know, there were some more fundamental issues, right? Like you know, Rhett brought up the copper thing.
Well, novice doesn't feel approachable at all. Like, novice is completely undervalued and just completely obfuscated. People don't even give a shit about novice. They level from 1 to 10 because apprentice is truly where it starts. Like, that's where people actually care. People don't care about novice, but they care at apprentice. That's bad. You need to have crafters care about novice. Like, novice should be something they care about right off rip. And how they do that is actually being incentivized to craft more than one item. You can give like a one-time craft experience buff, right? So like, you're incentivized to get that buff by making different items at the novice tier. I also feel like the amount of times to craft to go from 1 to 10 should be literally cut in half or more so, in my opinion, as a crafter. It shouldn't take, now going from apprentice to journeyman, that could probably stay where it currently is. But again, novice should be introductory. It should dip your toes and get you like into the crafting ecosystem. And then once you hit apprentice, then it's like, oh, okay, this is where the real game begins, kind of thing, right? Like, so just like going from 1 to 10 in Ashes, you can do that within a day or two, like a casual person. Seriously, it's super easy. Why is it taking crafters weeks to go from 1 to 10? That's bonkers to me. I'm not saying that crafting shouldn't have some sort of investment, but I think the first 10 levels, like, it shouldn't be that crazy. Like, it's literally the first 10 levels, guys. Like, look, let's chill out for a sec.
You know, one of the things that we learned from the copper thing is if we're going to have recipes that are supposed to be kind of the intro recipes, right? Those resources that are needed to create those things need to be accessible, and we didn't have a balance of accessibility across like trees that you find and flowers that you find and stone that you find and the metal that you find, right? So we were seeing everyone trying to draw on this metal that was significantly rarer than the hundreds of thousands of trees that are around, right? So you know, we need to take another look at those things and be like, all right, well,
does it take a tree to make a sword? Like, doesn't it take like an oak or something like that? Hold on, let me go to like Ashes Codex. Hold on, maybe I'm just losing my mind. Yeah, like oak timber. Yeah, it takes 1 oak, but 35 copper fragments. Come on. So it's like the magic powder, which is from the flowers, the granite weapon mold, which literally takes a granite. Like, those aren't anything. The copper is what's truly rare.
what other stuff should players be using to be able to craft a full set, or a new weapon, or make money through the market as they're learning crafting or before they hit level 10. How do we make sure that people are able to output things that are relevant as people are leveling up in the lifetime of the server, and they're not stuck behind the leveling curve and the adventuring power that players are able to reach by grinding mobs or doing quests. So those are the things that we're kind of taking a look at now. We have a ton of feedback and a ton of data on it, so we're able to kind of make more informed decisions on those points.
And the other thing to keep in mind is, part of what the economy team is working on right now that is going to be introduced into the game sometime in the very near future is touching hundreds of recipes.
Yes.
It is touching hundreds of spawn rates for gatherables. It is recategorizing the gatherable types into these accessible, introductory gatherable types, so that we can ensure some player character, power curve through progression that they have access to and properly equip themselves through crafting and or through questing and or through drops. And then we partition those low-end tier, graded items from the mid tiers or from the high tiers, which each increment becomes more and more difficult to achieve within a particular grade.
And what I really hope he's saying, because I kind of don't understand what he's saying. What I hope he's saying is, and this is the other thing I don't understand either. I'm sorry, I have so much in my mind that I want to say. I'm trying to figure out the flow of how I want to say it. When you start in Ashes of Creation and all the nodes are wilderness, why the hell is there willows and braidwood trees? Why is there Lumidon mining nodes? We literally just entered this game. Like that kind of doesn't compute to me. And I understand it's a very gamey thing, because what I kind of imagined is that there just should only be T1 materials. And then when nodes start actually leveling, right? Like we start hitting not village, but what's the one before that? Like you go from wilderness to village to something or other. Like when you go to T1, T2, T3 in the nodes, then you can start seeing other stuff. But what I hope they do on the back end, what I'm basically trying to say is that I don't want Copper to share a spawn node with Lumidon. That is stupid. On their code in their back end, all T1 materials should come from T1 nodes only. So you're not sharing a copper with, a Lumidon or a tin or, anything like that. Because that's so unfair to the fact that when people need copper, but it's but that it would have spawned a copper, but it spawned a Lumidon instead. What? That makes no sense. I don't get that. All I'm saying is that if T1 spawners are only going to spawn T1 spawners, good. Because I believe all the nodes should be on different tiers, right? As far as their back end. If they need to spawn more T1 stuff, they can slide the dial, right? If they want to do more T3, they can, they can adjust the dial that way. But currently it's they're all sharing the same nodes, which they're all mixed in. T1, T2, T3 are all mixed in. I don't understand that. Make them all individual on the back end. I hope that's what Steven was referring to. I could be completely freaking wrong. They need to put in a new crude copper node like they do with granite for the opening quest. I really don't know if that's the play, dude. I really don't know, Vale. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know if I personally like that. I just think that they need to make, when you go out into the world right off launch, you should only be able to find T1 materials and T2, right? I'm okay with T2. Now you can't mine them, of course, because the game just launched, right? I'm talking day one experience. You can see T2 materials, but T3 and up you can't even see, because again, the world needs to evolve. It needs to level up, basically. And then of course, because T1 doesn't share anything with T2, the T2 are just going to be there until someone makes, an apprentice thing. But that way they can actually scale like how much they're going to need in a particular server, you know, or whatever. Like that's kind of like what I hope they do on their back end. Let me see. Why would a growth of a node randomly start spawning T3 gatherables as it levels up? It makes no sense logically. I know. And that's why I said it's a very gamey thing of what I said. I know it doesn't make sense like lore wise or whatever, but I'm just saying like it makes sense that the node's leveled and now you're going to be able to find those things. And you can make it as simple as, oh, the essence. I don't know. Like there is a magical world. Maybe as commoners or whatever, our essence isn't in tune yet. So as we start leveling, we become more in tune with the essence. Thus we can see things that we couldn't normally see before. There you go. There's your lore reason.
There is also going to be some UI work that comes with these changes and how we are showcasing those itemizations within the grade as well. And then on top of that, you know, we did identify some bugs with our random spawn gatherables that we have addressed and that didn't take into account the large expansion of the world. We were seeing some populations not occurring properly. We also got the clustering in that's going to aid, I think, in these endeavors significantly as well. So, you know, this revamp is obviously the one that we wanted to target for the start of phase 3. We have now reprioritized, obviously, as Rhett said, over the course of the last couple of weeks, that work for the econ team. We've disrupted their sprint and their deliverables for other feature focuses that they were intending to work on in order to deliver this faster, but also to give us the time to test.
I gotta rewind that back. The econ changes were planned to be on phase 3, then why did we get something in March? Talking about all these econ changes for the next couple of patches. Am I hearing this right, or am I just not following? Like, I feel like I'm not following.
Showcasing those itemizations within the grade as well. And then on top of that, you know, we did identify some bugs with our random spawn gatherables that we have addressed and that didn't take into account the large expansion of the world. We were seeing some populations not occurring properly. We also got the clustering in that's going to aid, I think, in these endeavors significantly as well.
Has anybody found copper clusters or zinc clusters? I mean, I've seen a lot of granite and basalt clusters like before this cluster system was even in place, but like, are people actually seeing those things? Like, is it actually lots of them? Okay, just want to make sure.
So, you know, this revamp is obviously the one that we wanted to target for the start of phase 3. We have now reprioritized, obviously, as Rhett said, over the course of the last couple of weeks, that work for the econ team. We've disrupted their sprint and their deliverables for other feature focuses that they were intending to work on in order to deliver this faster, but also to give us the time to test on this delivery ahead of phase 3 so that when we have phase 3's fresh start, it can be done within a wholly contained perspective of what we want to test around our economy. And that is obviously the most beneficial way to approach, you know, any type of significant econ revamp.
Well, and I think, I really hope with this big econ map that they need to literally, people are getting very used to finding Riverlands gatherables in other biomes. Guys, that is not going to be, that's not going to happen. That, I think, is a temporary measure right now to suffice more gatherables that are actually supposed to be for the Riverlands. But every biome is only going to have gatherables native to that biome. Like, you're not going to find copper in the June Dark. You're not going to find copper in the desert. Like, you're going to find the copper equivalent, you know, in that biome, like not actual copper. So I don't know if people are going to be aware of that, right? Like, once, you know, all of the T1, T2, and T3 materials are actually in the game for every biome that's currently present right now, which is the Riverlands, the desert, the tropics, and the June Dark. Like, that's going to be a thing, you know?
Yeah, and as Steven mentioned before as well, you know, we're trying to do all this while simultaneously bringing in new features that are very important to how the economy runs or how players gain power or So it's kind of like we're trying to think about it holistically and make decisions based on it, but we're not able to get full data on how that stuff is working and full feedback on how that stuff is working. An example of that, right, is start of earlier phases, we have thousands and thousands of players coming in through the portal area, and their entire ecosystem, the whole game is just the Riverlands, right? And so by design, a zone isn't supposed to support a whole server in terms of the amount of resources that are there, right? So that.
But I would say that not the 8,000 that we got this time, but I believe the 4,000, because I believe like that was what the number was previously. That's very realistic for what a single starting area could actually spawn with. If they increase the concurrency from 8 to 10,000, which I 100% believe they should, like I believe that number is gonna definitely change. If we get up to 18 to 20,000 per server as a concurrency, you can definitely have 4,000 or 5,000 per starting zone, especially if there's only 5 starting zones, which I think that's already a mistake as well. I think there needs to be more starting zones, but they do have to prepare for a big number like that, in my opinion.
That's where you're going to start to see the amount of resources or your economy kind of fall apart. Everyone's draining on one zone.
Yeah.
Hold on. I actually love that there's braidwood that is on the edge of the Riverlands in the tropics that should stay. Now the Riverlands materials is in the far reaches of the tropics now. All I'm saying is that, like we can talk about the nuances of like where the borders are, but if it's literally along the border, fine. But in the zone itself, like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like it shouldn't exist. Isn't there supposed to be 4 starting rivers per continent? There's technically 5. So there's 2 per continent. And then of course the Underrealm for the Tolnar. You can't, like, if you pick a human, like, I don't know yet, and I believe it's in the wiki to where the Tolnar starting area is only for the Tolnar race. So if you don't pick a Tolnar, you technically can't start in the starting area of the Tolnar. If you pick the Tolnar, I believe I again, this probably could change. The Tolnar, I believe, has access to all 5 starting areas, but if you're picking like a Valoon, then technically you only have access to 4. You won't be able to start in the Underrealm. I'm riding around now as you stream for the last hour. 2 zinc nodes, 0 copper, basalt, and granite everywhere. Well, yeah, and that's what I mean, right? Like, I feel like from the people that I've talked to, like copper and zinc are still very rare in the Riverlands, like very rare. Why? Because they share nodes with T2 and T3 materials, which is stupid. Like T1 materials, in my opinion, should have a pretty good respawn rate. Like I would say like every hour, to be honest with you. And I believe minerals, like T2 stuff, like maybe because if you do every hour for T1, like I think that's fine. And then having T2 and up be like 4 hours, I think that's totally valid. Because then it's just the amount of nodes that are going in there. But T1 materials, like they've always talked about T1 materials being very plentiful. Like you go back to all their live streams, like that's the abundancy. Like that was supposed to be the T that the very basic materials, right? That you were just going to start foundationally building everything in. So make them plentiful.
When we need more space in the world and more gatherables in the world to head up that pyramid and turn into process and turn into crafted goods. So the more we expand and the more space that we have to spawn more gatherables and hit kind of the numbers and the amounts that we're looking at, the more we're going to get closer to what we're actually expecting for our economy, gatherables, crafting.
Yeah.
And that will continually be kind of a challenge for us, right? Because we are, I think Stephen brought it up in a previous segment too, is that we are pretty much having a live service at the same time as developing alongside of things. So there are some challenges that we have to manage along the way. And this is kind of one of those situations where we're going to grow the spaces in which you're gathering these things and the economy change.
I think every starting area will have to have low level mats. No, of course, like every biome, all, 19 biomes are going to have T1 through T5 materials. like all of them, unless they're saving particular, like some nodes that may be more, like that isn't a starting area, but it's like you will only be able to find T3 through T5 materials in this biome. Like, I don't know, like they could. Is it 18? I thought it was 19. Because are you counting the Underrealm? Because that's technically a biome. I want to say there was 19, but maybe I'm wrong.
Changes over time based on those things. And we have to think about it, like you said, holistically on a larger picture, but also ensure that the moment-to-moment gameplay is still fun for the interim, like the time prior.
Yeah, and that's really the rub, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about this since 2017, that our approach from a development perspective to being transparent in the process, to offering a true alpha, not actually being a port over alpha from what players are most accustomed to, is that the perception sometimes can be that I am playing a game right now and that I expect this game to function like other games, in the sense that it is, complete, that these loops are all polished and or don't have these major problems. But the reality of it is that this alpha is a true alpha, and over time it can degrade a little bit and then get better because we're actively developing, and that can sometimes introduce different bugs. It can sometimes introduce, for example, I saw that there was a comment in chat from someone. I didn't see what it was, but it was essentially like, it's too bad that at the start of phase 2.5 we had this bug with the enemy NPC power curves.
Yeah,
we introduced, just to give you guys concept.
Fupo, I feel like the node system is going to be the one system that's going to be reiterated upon heavily due to feedback. I mean, right now, I've already talked to people about the leveling in Ashes of Creation currently, because people can level from 1 to 25 in, I think, 28 hours, like by doing the most efficient stuff. So Steven said during my interview with him that it was going to be 100 hours. Now, that 100 hours could be from a more casual gameplay perspective or whatever, but the delta of 28 hours for the most efficient to 100 hours, which is like super inefficient, I think that's a huge delta wave personally. And so if you're going to have a lot of people like go that far and that fast, like I think that there needs to be an XP buff, basically. Like it needs to take longer, but how much longer, I don't know. And I think the scaling of it kind of needs to change too, because personally, I'm okay leveling from 1 to 10 slower. I am, like, I'm an advocate because I'm more about the journey. Like I understand that people want to overcome every level as fast as possible, right? But I feel like with Ashes, like it needs to be a little bit more slowed down, in my opinion. But I understand that also roughs people the wrong way, because currently the only thing you can do is grind. And you're telling me that you want it to take longer with me only having grinding at my disposal, which really, really, really sucks. What's going to be the max level? 50. In Ashes of Creation currently, the level cap is 50. So, and Tech, welcome to the stream, brother. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be, XP rate is definitely going to be changed 100%. But I feel like people are leveling too quickly and going to apprentice too quickly, that you're like, the nodes just feel so slow in comparison. Like the rate at which nodes level or how they do things, that, yeah, the gathering buildings. No, I get it. I 100% get it. It's because, again, like there is a sort of cadence that I feel like as the rate of how fast people level and do things, and then compared to how fast the node does things by the players, it's two different speeds, like completely. So, and again, like depending on the kind of materials that are present or how quick a building can be put up, like that's something for me, because I have not been a mayor. I have not really interacted like as a creator with the node system yet. So I haven't really seen what kind of pain points the node system has as far as like creating buildings, choosing the building type, when it comes to the allocation of the materials, like all that stuff. Like I personally have not been able to test that because I've never been a mayor. I would really love to have some of the mayors on in a live stream just to kind of talk to them about like what they've experienced and what they had to go through to make a building and then had to upgrade the building and having certain building types and having to choose and stuff. Like I think it would make a really good conversation, but I think that's not even in players' minds right now because there's bigger fish to fry, which is the economy's fucked. So we need to unfuck the economy. It's the amount of material input with metals basically vanishing for 2 weeks. It came to a standstill. Exactly. Right. So now if there's calling for copper, right. And it's like, oh, to make this building, you're gonna need 4,000 copper, bro. You tell what? You know what I mean? So again, these are all these pain points that start happening. Right. So once the economy is fixed, right, with this big econ patch, then that's going to necessitate the entire node system and the the disposition of materials needed for buildings. So we'll see.
Cognizance of that, we introduced a bug early in phase 2.5 that actually stopped the power curve of NPCs with star ratings. So all the higher star mobs were kind of hitting, very weak and could be easily, trained into these massive groups.
7
and
to 10
players
mobs
did
at
not
a time.
require the normal gear stat check that would have been, the challenge rating of those types of encounters, and we're able to progress significantly faster without necessary gear. And then when we introduced the fix for that a week later, all of those characters had no gear score essentially at higher levels, and the power of the mobs were where they should be. And then boom, it was, oh my God, I can't fight, all the mobs are killing me. So like, those are the types of alpha experiences that can occur. And we have to make sure that we're taking, I know it's a bit of a meme now when somebody, gives feedback, critical feedback, that other people will say, it's an alpha. And sometimes that can be overused. Sometimes that's used in an incorrect manner to curtail, feedback that we actually want to hear. But in other cases, it's true. In other cases, that is a real issue that we need to make sure we're keeping in perspective as a testing audience. The alpha is going to have problems. And for the economy right now, we are trying to sift through those issues and address them head on and deploy these fixes and the revamp that the team is so hard on working right now.
Yeah, and I think to wrap this up, obviously we could sit here and talk all day about economy. There's a lot that goes into it, and we are generalizing. If we want to bust out spreadsheets, I'm sure we could do that, but that's not necessarily what we all have time for. I know some of you might, but obviously Corey and Rhett have work that they have to get doing. We have a lot of stuff on our plate that we want to try to accomplish for phase 3, and this specifically to kind of, restate again for people is with this economy revamp, we're looking at recipe rework, gatherable spawning, world state artisanship access, progression in artisanship. I cannot say that word for the life of me, onboarding, and making that process a little bit better. And, this does touch a lot of things. It is, the gatherable spawning, the processing, the recipe makeup, enemy drops, player gear, vendor inventories. There's so much that goes into this with all the nodes that we have and the new POIs and zones that we're going to be providing in here. They have a lot of work ahead of them. So just letting you kind of reiterating again that they are looking into it. The concerns that you guys have brought up is something that we are addressing. And, that's why this live stream is so different than the others. We really just wanted to address the concerns that the community had and really let you know we are working on things, but some things do take time, and this is a big thing. It's going to take some time. So again, as Stephen mentioned in the previous segment, we're asking for a little patience and grace while we do that, while we make these changes.
It's kind of hard to do that because you guys set an expectation, right? Like when you put that post out with the static node rarity forum post, y'all put dates there. And again, like I understand you can't hit dates or whatever, but I don't think you should have put a date. I think y'all should have put, and again, this is for future stuff, right? Because I want more of those forum posts. Like I want more posts by Intrepid laying out community concerns in that kind of format, because I think everybody that I talk to loved the static node rarity post. But for future stuff, do not put any kind of a date. and also have an asterisk. We're hoping to have this particular system or this particular fix in place for patch, 0.18, right? And an asterisk next to it, it could be 0.18.6 or 0.8.5. It, basically just saying that just because we hit 0.18, that it's going to be on the 0 version of it, right? Like y'all need to be as clear and concise as possible to give better expectations for the community. And then also just saying that it could be pushed, if something goes wrong, it could be pushed to the 0.19 patch, like stuff like that. Like I think it would just be better, and it would give more peace of mind to the testers, and I'm just saying that because, like, for me, like, I've been waiting for these changes, like with that post, I am like, oh my God, like I was waiting for May 9th so bad, because I'm like, all right, like profession talent trees, like that's the one thing I want to see so bad is profession talent trees. But I'm excited for all the other stuff. I think BOE tools is like another huge thing on my list. And then pylons is something I really want to test as well, because I want to see, is that going to be really annoying to use? Is it going to be like, is it going to feel good to use that? Like I want to know in what state the pylon system is going to be in, because I think it's kind of stupid to be able to look at future spawn nodes and be like, oh, a heroic copper node is going to spawn in 10 minutes in this particular area. I think that's stupid. I'm just saying that now. I think that's completely dumb. I would personally just put pylons, and I think pylons in itself doesn't need to be a deep system. I am perfectly okay with with different kinds of pylons. You can have a quantity pylon, like basically like you make a quantity pylon, you put it in an area, it's a 30-minute cooldown, and there is a higher percentage chance that you'll get higher quantities within that particular like cluster of stuff, right? So if you see like I'm gathering daffodils and snowdrops, and there's like 14 nodes, and I want more, I can put a quantity pylon down, and then now I can start proccing extras with each one. Or if I want to do a rarity pylon and I want a higher chance to get the next rarity up, then I can put that down. Like, I would rather have that than being able to identify future nodes. I think that's entirely dumb. Like, I really don't like that particular system, but I want to test it. I want to see exactly what they deliver on,
I know we don't like
I believe
to
the correct term I used was embrace the suck.
embrace the suck.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, Steven, you did.
I'm not going to say that. I don't want that quote.
I'll say it.
But
I'll
obviously people are wanting to know when they'll be able to start testing some of these features, whether
Yes.
or changes. Do you guys have kind of a timeline of some sort? I know we don't want to give dates, but maybe like when they'll be able to see some of this coming to PTR, maybe not necessarily to the full extent.
Corey?
Yeah, that's a Rhett and Steven question.
Oh, that's a good
Or-
question.
Jesus Christ.
I need to ask production.
And that's okay. If we, I just know that that's a question that users are going to ask.
We
so.
are actively working on it right now. I cannot predict when it's going to get out of the lower branch testing and when we're going to complete all the tasks for that. We have some estimates. I think that it'll be at least probably another couple of weeks. As I said, we're touching hundreds of recipes. We're touching hundreds of spawn rates and quantities. We're touching basically the entire economy. So it is something we don't want to deploy and deploy wrong.
I just want to make a thumbnail of me going like this and hugging like a stick figure, and it says the suck. I'm just embracing it. Because it just feels so bad right now. Like, I want to log in and play. Well, that's the other thing too. I don't know if any of you guys have been experiencing this, but ever since this new patch, this major update, 0.11, my performance has been shit. I have an amazing system. I have an i9 processor. I have a 4080 graphics card. And I literally, like, I get stutters. I get like all these things that I didn't encounter on the 0.10 patch. So it just feels really bad, me just being in the game. So I just haven't really been playing. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like performance is just not where it is. Like, I feel like the zone boundaries, like every time I go through there, it's just like, it's so janky and stutters, and combat just doesn't feel smooth anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like the performance in this particular patch just isn't doing something on my computer correctly or something. I don't know. Maybe it's the shaders. Like, some people were telling me to uninstall or reinstall, and I don't know. It's just, it's been sucky.
Again, we want to deploy it right, and we want to be able to start collecting data on it that will help inform what we need to massage going into phase 3.
All right. I've kept you guys longer than the intended time frame. Unless, Rhett, you had something additional you wanted to add.
I do.
Say,
Oh, go for it. Go for it. I don't want to.
I'll hand it to Corey after a quick note. I think this exercise too is a good test for our economy team and our tools and our data setups to see how fast we can react to, making a big change like this.
Well, it's been since March, bro. So I hope y'all have learned a lot.
I'm really interested to see how fast we can turn this around. So, just speaking to Stevens, 2 weeks-ish to get the initial internal look at this.
I'm sorry, I know they're trying their best.
I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic. And with that, I'll hand it to Corey.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the point that Steven brought up earlier of like us having open development and us being kind of an open alpha. I can't express how awesome of an opportunity it is to do development like this, to be able to get feedback from players in a live environment, iterate on it on the next day or reprioritize based on that feedback. It's just not something that really exists like this, and I really appreciate all the players that are like being vocal, giving us feedback, whether it's like critical or positive or whatever. Being able to have that as our guiding light, and and look at all the features that haven't come online yet and be like, all of them are saying they want this, and thank goodness this feature is gonna address that. It's just a really special thing, and I just want to thank all the players that I've been playing with, and the people that are going hard on the game or playing casually or whatever. You're making a huge job for me individually, and I know the game as a whole. So I really appreciate you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are too sweet.
Hearts in
awesome.
chat for
Hearts in
Corey
chat
and
for
Rhett.
the econ team. Yeah, and thank you guys.
I will say Corey is super passionate about the economy and his job and wanting to deliver like his best. And I'm sure it kills him the fact that they've had their missteps and their misfires, and the fact that these things are getting pushed to a degree that's causing a lot of discomfort in the community. If there's one person I know that pains him the most, probably more than Steven, it's Corey. Like, he truly does care. And again, as someone who's just wanting those fixes and wanting those changes now, I'm a nobody really. I mean, I'm just a person that just excited for the game and wanted the game to be better or whatever. And, I've been taking more of a break now because of my kid and everything like that. So it's not a big deal to me, but I'm just wanting my hands on those changes. Right. But I also want tester retention in a way too. And as much as I've advocated for players to take a break and do stuff, if every tester took a break right now because the game is in a poopy state, then how is that supposed to work? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Let me see. Fuck his feelings, bro. Really? Again, he's a big boy. I mean, he can take it. You know what I mean? And he has been taking it. And the way he's been taking it is to deliver on these systems as best as he can. That's all you can do. There's no sense in crying about it. I mean, the damage is done. It is what it is. It's a learning lesson for sure. But now they got to put their money where their mouth is. And hopefully this update for the econ is really going to try to turn things around. Not particularly in this particular phase anymore, because it's fucked. It's done. But we can see the light in the tunnel for phase 3, right? Now that we have all these changes in this phase 2.5, then with the start of phase 3 with the full wipe, with these new econ changes, you know, with like guild storage and with like hopefully profession talent trees and, you know, BOE tools and lower cost for crafting, and then now having other biomes that have similar crafting recipes, so you don't have to always get the Riverland stuff crafted. You can make desert stuff, you can make tropic stuff. Like that's going to alleviate, I think, a shit ton, like a literal shit ton of player investment, time, and effort. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick, and then we're going to watch some stuff on USE 5.6 in a bit. Just give me a second real quick. Let me do this. Well, it's disappointing to hear, but I'll take it. I just want the patch to come out and have it actually be good. You know what I mean? That's all I want, really. Let me see, Unreal.
Hey, what's going on, yo?
All right. Here we go. This is Unreal Engine 5.6 preview, new features. I'll just leave myself in the same here. All right. Let's get into it.
Jay from JS Films. In this video, we're going to be talking about the official Unreal Engine 5.6 preview that just came out a couple of minutes ago. Now, for the past couple of months, I've been making Unreal Engine 5.6 content. I think the first one was 3 months ago. So in this video, I want to see if everything that we've covered so far here on the channel when it comes to 5.6 actually made it to the official version, which is right now just a preview version. Still, this is the official one that you can download in the Epic Games Launcher. So the first one we're going to look at is the translucency upgrade that we showcased earlier. So in the output log, again, I'm just going to type in allowed, and it should be ray trace translucency allowed, put a question mark in there. Right now it's -1, so it's off. So
well, dude, and the other thing too, I feel like, I don't know, I think it was 5.5 megalights. Dude, that's another huge lumen upgrade. Like megalights, I think, is going to be insane for Ashes of Creation. You think of some of these pocket dungeons, or even I'm thinking of the Underrealm. Oh my god, imagine the Underrealm with all these bioluminescent things just coming everywhere, and with megalights that is totally possible without affecting performance. Oh my god.
if you're looking at this glass similar to what we did in the video, it still kind of look crappy. So now what we'll do is I'll turn this to 1, and yes, it's in there. So that video that we made is legit. it made it to the final version, which is very good. Let's see here. I do have a post-process in here. I think it's this one. Let me just take a look. I know some of y'all wanted to see the translucency as far as the
I want to
model.
I want to see. Okay, this guy probably does it.
What's up guys, welcome back to Unreal Dev Hub. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the best new features announced for Unreal Engine 5.6. There's a lot of great improvements coming that will improve workflows for designers, artists, and programmers. So without further ado, let's jump in. At number 10, we have some awesome updates to MetaHuman incoming. So big push for MetaHuman in this release. One of the biggest things is that MetaHuman will now be coming directly to the Unreal Engine 5 engine. Previously, when building a MetaHuman, you have to use a web-based platform, and the back and forth between the two has honestly been a little bit clunky at times to have to leave the engine to work with an asset that, you know, kind of lives and belongs in the engine. So previously, you go to their web interface, you do everything online, and you export it, and through a Quixel plugin, you're then importing your metahumans, but that process is obviously a little clunky, and so they have, you know, put some energy to improve it. And so in this video on the left, you can see that now all of these tools and controls will be coming directly to the Unreal Engine user interface. So big improvement there. Great to see that we don't have to go to many different places to work with assets that really in the end belong in the engine. So great choice there. Up next at number 9 is going to be another metahuman improvement along the lines of metahuman. You know, it's a great engine, but as they move to improve the ways in which it can be used as a real character creation toolkit along the lines of things like, you know, character creator through Reallusion, and the things that, you know, players are really just accustomed to using inside of video games, where you can easily control the size, the weight, the build, the hair, you know, scaling characters up and down, kind of like you can see in this video. And it sounds like they're trying to bring better fidelity to the character building system. And alongside that, they've announced this thing called an outfit asset, which if you've used the MetaHuman creator, the clothing options are lacking, and so it sounds like they'll be maybe scaling up the capabilities to build clothing, which can also be shared across different metahumans and different sizes of metahumans. So it'll be great, you know, a pipeline to both create assets for the characters, but also to allow those to scale with different sizes and weights and builds of characters. So great choice there. Up next,
I want to say too that the way Unreal does fabric, because I think that was the thing I saw in 5.5 where the textures of clothing got vastly improved, and you can literally have like all the different dimensions of like cloth, leather, or like chainmail. And of course you think of Ashes of Creation doing this, and how each have very distinct properties. And if you look at any of like the Ashes of Creation's like cosmetic boudoir that they have, I think Unreal Engine, like once they get to the point of like polish, like I feel like some of these sets are going to be fucking amazing looking, especially with Unreal Engine. It's gonna be crazy.
At number 8 is, you guessed it, more metahuman tech. And this one is about facial animation. So in previous releases, you know, there's already existing capability for iPhone Live Link facial capture to metahuman, and they're going on.
Here we go.
Then we have the seamless gameplay transitions. So this is something that if you've played games like God of War Ragnarok, or, you know, lots of AAA games do it, lots of games in general do it, where things transition super seamlessly from gameplay combat or gameplay experience right into cinematic. And the camera, for instance, of God of War goes from right over the character's shoulder, you know, directly into a cinematic. And that seamless moment where the camera transitions can be hard to achieve. There's existing tools within Sequencer that allow you to do it, but they're really expanding it and allowing track-based solutions and more seamless capabilities through Blueprint and through Sequencer to, you know, just improve this experience and also deal with the weighted priority of different animations as you transition into that sequence. So a lot of great stuff happening here. Getting this tools into the hands of more users is just going to make games better. Up next at number 6, we have the rig locomotor. So control rig is an excellent addition to the animator and technical animators pipeline. It has allowed IK and recently with motion matching to just generally improve the quality of game animation. It hasn't really been fully realized. A lot of games haven't launched yet with motion matching because it's so new.
Bro, I think this is going to be huge for Ashes too. Holy shit. Do you remember, like, I was literally going down, what was it, like west of, not Halcyon, of Jova, going down that main road, going to New Ayla, and I literally saw a goblin just over my head running. And I'm like, what the hell? It was just a goblin running in the sky. It was like, what the hell? And I feel like sometimes like the rigging or like what is considered the floor for mobs is just terrible. And you have like mobs like going through buildings or towers or whatever, and they come out of nowhere or even outside of a mountain. It's crazy.
But with control rig specifically, this has been such an excellent tool for animators and technical animators to, you know, add better IK to their characters during runtime. And it's, you know, IK has obviously been done in many ways in the past. It isn't a brand new thing to allow the feet to snap to hills and, you know, ankles to rotate and orient to angled surfaces. But they're really trying to make this robust workflow through control rig, and they've described that this rig locomotor tool is a node or plugin that will allow really to expand IK and just, you know, general body rigs to any number of limbs, as it describes. So here, you know, they show this wolf, and as it's sort of sidestepping using, you know, directional blend space, you know, over these obstacles, and the paws just move really nicely alongside as it falls.
What do you mean? What? Are we pretending Unreal Engine features are going to be OC features? Do you mean to tell me that Ashes isn't taking part of Lumen? That was an Unreal Engine 5 feature. Is that something that Ashes isn't taking part in? Are they not taking doing Nanite? Like, bro, like a lot of the stuff is more tool based. For sure. And I think that was like the majority of what I heard during the Unreal segment in the Ashes stream today. And it's good. If they're going to get better tools, I believe there's also the world partition bookmark feature that's going to happen for 5.6. That's not anything we're going to see. That's not a client side thing. That is a back end thing for them to help facilitate like faster and just better biome management or whatever. So of course, 100%.
Is that target. So excited to see what this means. There's not a whole lot of detail on it yet, but really any improvements and accessibility updates to the control rig to get it into the hands of more users is going to be awesome. Up next at number 5, we have the biome plugin updates for PCG. So if you've used PCG before, super powerful. Again, this is something that almost requires, you know, a really in-depth amount of knowledge on its own. Under the hood, it is a similar visual scripting type, you know, layout to Blueprint. So users of Blueprint can, you know, jump in pretty easily, but this biome plugin basically aims to bridge the gap and allow more people to use it. And it uses a data asset based solution where you're creating information about different biomes, you know, the conditions in which different assets within the procedural content generation asset can exist. So trees can exist on hills of this grade, and plants can exist on, you know, ground materials of this texture. And so it uses a very intelligent database solution to allow you to create these very, you know, awesome procedurally generated forests and, you know, landscape biomes.
Especially for their eastern continent.
This plugin is supposed to just improve that even more. You know, there's obviously a V1, and if you've used PCG, you know it can be extremely powerful, but, you know, hoping that this allows, you know, maybe more inexperienced users to get into it and bridge the gap for those who have a little bit of a challenge when it comes to the technical aspects of PCG. So awesome update. Super excited for this one. Up next at number 4, we have the PSD import capabilities for the UI editor. So if you've ever worked in the Slate editor, it is a good editor, but a lot of times there's challenges working in it. And aspects like the common UI components in, recent updates for Unreal Engine 5 have definitely added some robust tools and are an improvement from some of the sort of legacy aspects of the UI editor. But, UI artists often mock things up and just work with graphics in software like Adobe Photoshop. So in the past, there's kind of this, not super spectacular workflow where if you're working. Up next, number 3 is the Chaos Cloth solution. And Chaos Destruction is what most people are familiar with, blowing things up, turning solid objects into many pieces of destructive geometry. And this, was one of the bigger updates in the beginning of Unreal Engine 5 that people were super excited with. So Cloth is one thing that has been in Unreal Engine, and there's cloth editing tools already, but this Chaos Cloth solution is
crafters make the best
a lot
shit.
Of control and basically bridge the gap where right now a lot of people do these clothing simulations.
Sorry, I thought
things like Marvelous Designer, or they cache things into, these texture cache geometry, surface animations for cloth, or there's cloth physics already, and cloth can be rigged, cloth can be animated with certain properties and be told what is a physics cloth within Unreal. It's not that it doesn't exist. They're giving a little oomph to that pipeline and adding a more robust Chaos Cloth solution, which I think a lot of people will be super excited for. At number 2, we have the world bookmark system.
Yes,
so this might sound,
right
sort of silly. Bookmarks, are they really that exciting? In this situation, what they're doing is, when you're working with a project with a lot of people, and you work in a game that's an open world, or even if it's just you as a solo developer, having key places in the world to navigate to, you work with certain environments, you work in certain levels where, where things are placed in the world. And what this solution is going to allow people to do is set specifications around world bookmarks. So let's say, here they keep hopping to, an island environment or a boat environment. You would be able to set the location of that environment and also specify the data layers and, like world landscape tiles associated with it that you want to be loaded, and conditions you want to be loaded into the editor when you go to that location. So it'll make it easier to basically hop around the world and have things be the way they need to be for both you and your team. So super useful. This one's going to be awesome. If you've ever worked at a big studio, you know that this is like an awesome thing that everyone has a proprietary solution for, jumping around the world. So this is awesome. Super excited for this one. And finally, this is going to be one of the biggest technical updates that is still sort of a work in progress, but the Iris networking system. So if you've ever worked in multiplayer in Unreal Engine, there's obviously a pretty robust solution to how to do multiplayer gameplay. There's existing solutions that have, similar system through Unreal Engine 4. And they're really trying to take a new approach to how to accommodate information transfer over very large servers. So if you've ever played Fortnite, 100 players. The ability to quickly replicate information across 100 players and do it in a lightweight and performant format is something that they're currently experimenting with in UEFN, in Fortnite, and they're really battle testing a lot of these solutions. So this one really isn't quite perfect yet, and a lot of these things are sort of under wraps and haven't been, super battle tested by other studios. And I'm super excited to see how this works out. As someone who works in multiplayer gaming, it's awesome to see that they're taking a fresh approach to this and improving some of the ways which things are done currently. There's, many different ways to structure your client server architecture, and it sounds like they're just improving this and, working to improve the existing structure. So super excited about this, excited to see what this means. And that is all for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this,
and if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe. I haven't seen any of this guy's videos before, but usually I always watch like Unreal Sensei, but Unreal Sensei hasn't really uploaded a video in a bit. So I was like kind of disappointed by that, because I love Unreal Sensei on YouTube. I think he does really, really good stuff. But I feel like there's also a ton, like this is not even really scratching the surface of all the Unreal 5.6 changes that are actually occurring. And again, I feel like, you know, depending if you're a developer or whatever, like certain things could be more exciting to you or not. But I think as a gamer, like the multi-threading, I think is going to be really good. The Lumen updates, the Nanite updates, I think the world partition thing, I think that's really good too, for the back end, for the developer side and stuff. I think there's going to be some really cool stuff. I mean, personally, I just want it to be better performant, right? I think ultimately that's what everybody wants, right? They want Ashes to run more efficiently. So I really hope that happens. Like I said, there's just a lot of stuff that I personally cannot wait for, and apparently we have to wait a little bit longer. You know what I mean? But guys, I'm going to probably go ahead and end stream. It's been a while since I've actually feels like it's been a while since I've streamed. So I'm gonna say a couple of things. This coming Tuesday, I'm gonna be dropping the Rogue Roundtable. It's not gonna be live, because like I said, I can't. It's hard for me to commit to streaming. So this one is going to have a couple of guests that you may know. It's going to be with Richie SH, Zyback TV, and Lude Lloyd. So those are going to be my 3 Rogue in arms, talking about Rogue archetype, asking all the questions about Rogue. How does the Rogue feel? How do the abilities feel? What's good, the bad, the ugly about the Rogue? We're going to get into it all. That video will be coming on my channel, on my Vladis Gaming channel on Tuesday. So please stay tuned for that. And I will see is anybody currently streaming right now in the Ashes category? Is Flanker on? Or is anybody we know currently streaming Ashes stuff? Zenrox, he's a cat. Okay. All right. All right. Well, send my regards to him. I am going to go and eat some food because I am hungry. And I will, like I said, have a great weekend, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and chatting it up some Ashes. I will see you guys